Hello and welcome to this first episode of EnergInform-Me. I am Tatiana and every week I'm going to provide you the latest news in the energy sector from all over the world. So stay tuned and let's start now. Firstly, BP's pledge to become net zero carbon by 2050 appears quite challenging and raises serious questions for a fossil fuel company which activities mainly depend on greenhouse gas emissions. Indeed, you might ask ourselves, how are they going to achieve such an ambitious goal? Well, the Guardian editor Jonathan Watts went through the technical document issued by the company and actually found out the main leverages of action of the company and essentially showed that they were quite vague. So firstly, reorganizing the internal management structure of the company seems to be the main pillar of the plan, although we do not understand how it's going to affect the production. Second of all, in its document, BP mentions that it wants to, let me read, growing sustainable free cash flow and distributions to the shareholders over the long term. Quite vague, right? Last but not least, BP is now supporting zero carbon policies, including carbon pricing, and this appears very interesting since the carbon tax the company mentions on its website is even a more radical policy than the emission trading scheme put in place in the EU right now, and that would impose more constraints on the company. Seems like a bit of greenwashing. Let's however note that BP's pledge is not the first of its kind. Earlier in 2019, the French refiner Total also made the commitment to reduce its carbon footprint, but with a slightly elaborated strategy. Looking at it, I identified four main pillars. The first one would be investing in the coal-to-gas switch with a specific emphasis on LNG. The second one is continuing the investment in carbon capture and storage projects as it did in 2018 with 860 million euros invested. The third is improving energy efficiency. And the fourth one, maybe the most important, is that Total now has a carbon neutrality venture fund, which means that it's a fund that invests in startups that are encouraging carbon neutrality. We'll follow what happened next on that matter. February 20 marked the beginning of the nuclear era in Abu Dhabi as the local regulatory agency authorized the construction of the first nuclear power plant in the Arab world. This is the result of 12 years of work and the plant will be operating soon. But the most surprising detail in this project is that it was the result of a cooperation between the International Atomic Energy Agency on one side and the South Korean government. So you might wonder why. Well, yes, not only the Korean company KEPCO partially owns the power plant, but it has also designed 4 reactors APR-1400 present in the plant. So the idea behind this cooperation is that South Korea will bring its technical expertise and know-how in this sector, and in exchange they will be able to get up to $25 billion from the operation of this power plant, according to Bloomberg data. Even though this cooperation is not really warmly welcomed by UAE's neighbors, who were fearing that the nuclear power plant would not correspond to the safety requirements and standards, this opened new perspective for further cooperation between Seoul and Abu Dhabi in other sectors. Let's go further to the east now and let's take a look at the trial that opposed Lithuania to Russia, and that just ended on February 21st. Although the two countries successfully concluded a deal on gas supply earlier in 2019, Lithuania accused the Russian company Gazprom of abusing its monopoly situation on the market and establishing unfair pricing between 2004 and 2012. The lawsuit opposing the two countries lasted almost 8 years and 10 million euros were spent on lawyer charges. And today, the Supreme Court of Sweden only confirmed the decision of the Stockholm Arbitrage Court, declining the demand for compensation from Gazprom. Let's finally remind that Lithuania imports 100% of its gas and 80% of it comes from Russia. So to diversify its gas supply and also to gain energy independence, the country built in 2014 the first large-scale LNG terminal in the Baltic region. And this is all for today. Thank you very much for watching and stay tuned on EnergInform-Me. Bye!